Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I had quite a few people tell me, hey Jason, you need to address this. Steve Shaw called you out on your warm-ups video, and some people are calling it clickbait. Oh, he just said to get attention. No, I was dead serious on what I said in that video. Wasn't clickbait, but I went and watched Steve's video, so I'm going to put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, do a little bit of crafting, and let's talk about it. Alright guys, this is a case of where people kind of say, Jason, why do you need to make these long videos? They're too long to follow. Because if I don't, people get stuff wrong. And because I make a long video like I did in this one, when people say, oh no, this isn't what you said, I can be like, no, you didn't watch the whole video. I can tell you didn't watch the whole video, because if you did, you wouldn't be saying this silly shit, or you didn't pay attention to the whole thing. I make long videos so I can cover a topic in detail. Now, I do believe that warm-up sets are overrated as an injury prevention tool. Let me jump into that for a minute, because the biggest problem we have here, Steve jumped up and said that what I said was that anyone who advocates warm-up sets is either out of shape, lacks mobility, or has bad form. That's not what I said. That's patently untrue. There are plenty of people who have great mobility and good form who still advocate warm-up sets. Why would I say something so asinine that could be proven as false? There's a lot of things I say that some people think they can prove false, but they can't. When you have something like that, all you have to do is find one person with good form who advocates warm-ups to prove me wrong. So why would I say something so easily disprovable when I don't even believe it to be true myself? I don't believe that. I didn't say that. What I said was that if you have ever gotten injured as a result of not doing a warm-up set, it is because you are out of shape, you have bad form, or you just lack mobility. And again, mobility is part of being in shape. If you don't have mobility to safely do exercises, basic exercises with full range of motion, you're out of shape. It doesn't matter what your body composition is. You don't have basic performance elements there. Mobility is a performance element. You can't squat ass to grass with a moderately heavy weight. You can't go deep enough without ripping something, or you can't touch a barbell to your chest with a moderately heavy weight and press it without injuring yourself. Due to mobility issues, you're out of shape. It's that simple. That's simple. You like mobility, one of the performance elements. So that's what I mean by being out of shape there. Now, there's a big difference between saying that versus what he thinks I said. And when I said anyone who advocates them as a form of injury prevention, who thinks that warm-up sets are critical for injury prevention, has no business training people. I didn't say people who advocate warm-up sets. You know, and it's interesting because Steve went through the whole video of his video, and he's standing there, and I got about halfway through, and since he said so many things incorrect of what he said that I said, that it's just like, why should I listen any further? The guy is basically misquoting me. No point in going further in this video. He started talking about warming up the nervous system, but I covered all that in the video. People who watched the whole thing, because again, if I'm going to make a video about warm-up sets, then I'm going to make a comprehensive video. Let's get in and discuss all the information. And yeah, I covered warming up the nervous system. I said that is the actual real benefit of warm-up sets. The benefit of warm-up sets is to prepare you to do a very, very heavy lift, not in the sense of keeping you from getting hurt, but to prep your nervous system, to preload your nervous system to get ready for a heavier weight so that it can put forward maximum effort with a very, very heavy weight. Because if you sometimes jump to something like a 1 rep max or even a 5 rep max with no warm-up, you won't be strong enough to lift your 5 rep max for the full 5 reps. You might miss a rep. When you go to attempt your actual 1 rep max on a lift that is a max effort lift, you might miss it. You might actually be stuck lifting 30 or 40 or 50 pounds less than your max would be your max. And then you end up failing going any heavier than that. There are benefits to warming up the peripheral nervous system to turning on motor units so that you are stronger on the peak sets. However, when you're doing relatively moderately heavy weight or moderately lightweight, anything under about 85% of your max or 80% of your max, generally, if you want to warm up the nervous system to handle that weight for a maximum number of reps or close to, the first reps in the set will actually warm the nervous system up enough. Meaning if you're going to take a weight that you can do for 8 reps, those first 3 or 4 or 5 reps will actually prime your nervous system for the later part of the set, because it's getting used to the weight already. It's kicking in. That's why sometimes if you haven't warmed up much or at all, when you go to grab your 8 or 9 rep max, you'll be a little rusty on the first couple of reps. They'll feel heavier, and then the weight will start to feel lighter once you get several reps in, because those reps warmed up the nervous system. And so that's the difference. That's what we're talking about. But that doesn't keep you from getting hurt. That's not about injury prevention. That is about performance for either a competition lift or performance for pushing out your last couple of sets in a workout, or your peak work set, your heaviest work set, to its maximum ability, so that you can stimulate the most strength and muscle growth. That has nothing to do with injury prevention. The entire video is about how they're overrated for injury prevention. It's not about being overrated for performance. I clearly made the distinction. Now, what I will say, Steve and I agree on, we did agree on, and I'm not going to just totally slam him because we had a point of agreement there. The biggest mistake guys make with warm-up sets, and the only reason I raise this point, because I don't care if people want to do warm-up sets. If you want to do warm-up sets, in fact, I said in the video, if you're just more comfortable and happy doing more warm-up sets, and that's going to motivate you to keep going to the gym because that's the way you enjoy training, don't stop doing it. By all means, don't stop doing it. I clearly said that in the video. But the thing is, guys do warm-up sets and fatigue themselves. If your warm-up sets are actually almost like work sets, if you're actually recruiting any upper threshold muscle fibers, or you're getting within a couple of reps of failure on a warm-up set, that's not a warm-up set, that's a work set. You're actually going to inhibit how much weight you can lift for your heaviest sets in your workout by doing that, because you're fatiguing yourself. Warming up is warming up, it's not fatiguing. But people need to understand that a warm-up is for the nervous system. It's not for the joints. It's not for the connective tissue. It's not for any of that. If you need to warm those things up with actual weightlifting, you need to seriously assess your mobility. You need to seriously assess your technique in the gym, because, no offense, but most people should be able to walk into the gym in street clothes, in their blue jeans, and lift on any of their big lifts 80% of their max for a single without injuring themselves. You should not ever be at any risk of injury from doing that, just cold walking straight into the gym. What I mean by 80%, if you're a 500-pound deadlifter and you can't physically walk up and pull 400 pounds off the floor without hurting yourself or pulling something, you have a problem. You have a problem with your technique, you have a problem with your ability, or you have a muscle imbalance you need to address, because that's not in shape, that's not fit. What's the point of having strength if you can't just use it at any time at a moment's notice? Now, I didn't say to go do a 500 pounds if that's your max. I said 400 pounds, 80%. And I've noticed Jamie Lewis agrees with me on the same thing. And in fact, I used that example because of Jamie Lewis. He has raised that same point. All these guys think that they need all this warming up to pull a moderately heavy weight, again, like 80% of your max. You shouldn't need to be able to warm up to, on any day of the week, 7 days a week, you should be able to walk up and hit 80% of your max in your street clothes, coming right in out of the cold weather without hurting yourself. And if you can't, then you've got problems. You've got mobility issues, technique issues, or a muscle imbalance that you need to address, because you are not in as good a shape athletically as you think that you are if you can't do that. And I already told you guys in the other video, I do a warm-up set on my deadlifts. I don't come in and do 5 or 6 warm-up sets, but when I come in and rep out 5, 6, 7 reps with 500 pounds for a work set, I warm up with 405 first. I usually do 2 or 3 reps with that. So I'm actually hit like 80% of what I'm going to lift for the work set. And that's what I personally do. And again, that's just to kind of prep my nervous system a little bit for it. But this idea that people need all these warm-up sets for injury prevention is just simply incorrect. They're useful for performance, particularly done correctly in the right environment, but you don't need them to stop from hurting yourself. And if you have proper muscle balance, you have proper mobility, everything else, you should be able to come in and train without doing large amounts of warm-up sets. That's just the reality of it. And there are plenty of top lifters around the world who have proven this. It's not me. It's not my opinion. There are power lifters like Jamie Lewis who say it. There are guys like John Brose who are showing it. There are tons of Olympic lifters around the world who do very, very little warming up before they come in and start hitting what a lot of you would think of as bone-crushing weights. Because they're used to lifting all the time, because their body is in shape for the actual act of lifting heavy weight, because they have good mobility, because they have good technique, it's generally not a problem for them. You guys would be really surprised how many world-class level weightlifters do what most of you would consider a scarily small amount of warming up. I mean, some of these guys come in and they hit maximum weights, insane weights on big competition lifts in the gym every day after doing 2 or 3 singles to warm up. And that's the reality of it. Go watch various Olympic lifting gyms. And again, you would be shocked. A lot of them are only warming up to warm up their technique to get to the heavier weights. But they are going to very, very heavy weights very quickly. Again, they're not coming up and doing a bunch of 10 rep sets with the empty bar. They're not doing 5 rep sets with 300. They're coming in and they're very quickly ramping up singles to very, very excessively heavy weights. And these are people who, you know, their entire family name in some countries might depend on them being successful at this and not getting hurt. Countries like China and everything. This is not a small matter to them. They're not doing this arbitrarily. But they're coming in and they're not wanting to waste a lot of effort on sub-maximal work. They're trying to come in and get stronger and better at their lifts in a world-level competitive environment. And they don't come in and fuck around. So again, these are examples you guys can observe all around the world. A lot of world-class level strength athletes like that, Olympic lifters, don't do as much warming up as the average bodybuilder does in the gym because they know it's not necessary. They're in shape. They have all the mobility they need to do their exercises, and they do all their exercises frequently enough that they're not really losing the mobility that they need to do them. And again, that's back to my other point. If you aren't mobile 7 days a week, mobile enough 7 days a week to move your body through all the various ranges of motion with a pretty heavy weight, what's the point of having all that muscle and strength? You can't utilize it at a moment's notice. You can't utilize it in an emergency without hurting yourself. What fucking good is it? What's the point? Why fucking bother if it's going to be useless all the time? When you can just train in a way that allows it to be useful all the time, like a lot of these top lifters do. And that was very much the point I was making, guys. But Steve went off to try to make it into something more than it was, into something I didn't actually say, just because he doesn't agree with me and doesn't like it. And that's fine. People don't have to agree with me. But when another YouTuber with a big size following wants to actually argue about what I said and take it out of context, because maybe they don't agree with it or they don't understand it, I kind of have to say something. And again, it kind of goes back to my point of when I make these long videos, I include large amounts of information in them, and people will sometimes say, well, you could have condensed that down. Well, if I did, then all the information I needed wasn't in there. And it's not my fault if I put out all the information in a video, somebody chooses not to hear all of it. That's their choice to make. And they miss that piece of the information. That's their fault. That's not mine, because I put it out there for them. Who are you going to blame? All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.